I'm so tired of people saying that it's just a movie, it's just a comic book, it's just a TV show. Whatever. No, it's not. Stories are the building blocks of our culture, of ourselves, even of our own psychology. We are a product of the stories we tell ourselves about our own past and the experiences on a daily basis, but also the stories that we choose to spend time with. What types of values or feelings or whatever are they promoting? What types that we like to spend our time around? They're going to shape us. They're going to shape our personality and character, and they're going to shape our perception of the world and the acts and behaviors that we put out into the world. And people don't understand that. They go, it's just a movie. It's just this. I can like and promote whatever I want. Well, of course you can, but you should pay attention to the responsibility that you have.
Consume stories responsibly.
As a member of society, as a human being, responsibility to yourself.
Consider the consequences.
You need some balance. You need some certain criteria that is going to make sure you're promoting the right kind of works, or at least have thought through the type of work that this or that story is going to do in our culture, and then make your own decision whether or not that's something you want to support.
Consume stories responsibly. Consider the consequences. Consume stories responsibly.
Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another Office Hours stream. Hopefully, everything's good. I'm coming in loud and clear. Hopefully, you had a good week. I have definitely had a good, nice long week. I'm ready for a good weekend. As I said, my weekends always begin Saturday evening and then go on into Mondays. But Andre Hernandez says, can't wait to hear that aspirational song. Well, I thought I'd mix it up a little bit. Mix it up a little bit. Can't have you too used to one thing, right? Let's see. You see it in the chat there that it's Dr. Y's birthday. So congratulations. Happy birthday to you, sir. Hope it was a good one. Let's see. We did have here Darth Enigma was first. Ghost Planet X Inc. is always first. So Ghost Planet Geek says, great job, Enigma. Beat me, I guess. Excuse me. Welcome, Private Eye. And Andre Hernandez already mentioned stress levels, dances with trees. Zekta. I think it's the first time I've seen you there. Good to see you. Jinyu, Dr. Wise, have said, the imaginative hobbyist, and many, many more. Final Fantasy fans, we have plus size. Great to see everybody. Shout out channel members if they're here. But yeah, good to see you guys. I guess we're done talking about aspirations. Oh no. It'll come back. Like I said, nothing was changing. I was just throwing that video into the mix. So yeah. Well, maybe tune in next week. All right. If you guys really want it, maybe I'll play it for you anytime I want. Darth Enigma says this stream will go great with my cheese pizza. How old are you, son? Cheese pizza? I mean, I eat cheese pizza before I eat no pizza, but come on, throw some meat on there. Dr. Y said, yep, I barely made it into February. Luckily, I'm not a leap year baby. Oh, yeah. Yeah, how does that even work? What is that if you're born in a leap year? I guess you're March 1st. Other years, I don't know. That's numbers make my head hurt on the best of days. So, hopefully you guys had a good time. It's been a crazy week. The topic I thought about for tonight was I teach a unit in my classes. Actually, in my class that I teach, one of the courses I teach is just sort of a very basic college composition. It's just one of the first classes that a student needs to take going from high school into college. And I call it, we do a unit in that course called Rhetorical Awareness. And that's where you're supposed to learn how to not just, passively read something, but actively read it. Now, I practice this in my literature courses that I teach as well. We talked about it on the channel as well, talking about reading books or watching movies, doing it actively, not just sitting there passively letting it wash over you, but actively reading, really trying to look at the structure of it, look at the composition of it, and look at, what the medium's trying to say. It's a little bit different with with nonfiction, articles or something like that. So that's kinda what I'm gonna talk about a little bit tonight. We'll get into that a bit more here. But Samuel Proctor, good to see you there, channel member. Oh, Lister, a banana, pepper, and jalapeno pizza? Oh, man, that's way too exotic for me. Just pepperoni, throw some meats on it, mushrooms, I'll do mushrooms. No onions, no gross. Ugh, no, no, no. Uh, Nathaniel's Lozball says, "What's the game playing behind you? Title is too blurry, and it makes the title look like it's saying Omen Toast." Yeah, you never played that game, Omen Toast? It's a great game, Omen Toast. It should be a game now. Omen Toast. Somebody make a video game and call it Omen Toast. No, it's Dick Tracy. The Dick Tracy game on the Sega Genesis that came out back in, the '90s when the Dick Tracy movie came out, because it was tied to the movie, not to the old comics necessarily. Spidey Rule says, "How old are you?" says the guy who eats chicken nuggets because he doesn't like to eat up off a bone. How do you remember these things? I guess I can be careful about these things I say. Yeah, no, I don't like to eat chicken on a bone. It's weird. No. You feed the chicken strips or chicken, patty or breast or something like that, just no, 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 no. Uh, yeah. Sound Engraver says, "My words are dipping a little. Sounds like the computer mic again?" Hmm, let me check. Says I'm on the right mic here. Does the audio sound different to you guys? Echo or dipping? It's, talking echo. You guys let me know if the audio sounds weird. Yeah, so Dr. Y knows where it's at. The bone gives chicken flavor? What? Bones aren't flavored. That's weird. That is weird. Audio is going in and out, said AOL. But now Sound Engraver says it sounds better. You guys are confusing to me. See, everything was fine until I took out this interface here and let my Sound Engraver use it. And it came back and it was all like settings were weird, and this was turned off, and that was turned off. It's back and forth. Yeah, what's going on? Okay, I'm getting audio advice, guys. Uh, it's up. You want me to turn the camera off so you can come over? Hang on, guys. More more technical difficulties. All right, come along. Yeah, audio's on. Yeah, it's okay. Okay. See if this sounds any different. Okay. Yeah, Sound Engraver's gonna go over there and check and listen to herself. See if it sounds any better. I don't know. Luckily, we actually bought her a brand new interface, so she won't have to borrow this one anymore. Because I don't know how to work these things. It was all set to where it worked, and then, oh, Joel says much better. Okay. Hopefully it is much better. That's why I cut parts of these, live streams out to make them videos because who would wanna listen to all this? You guys are long suffering, man. Thanks for sticking around. You guys don't care. You'll sit here and listen to somebody Uh-huh. Well, yeah. Okay, people say it sounds better. Sound Engraver concurs. So that's what we'll do. We'll roll it out. I see in the chat there, imaginative hobby is mentioned in Dune Part 2 is great in epic cinema. Oh, yeah, but changes the source material. I don't see why anybody didn't see that coming. Dune Part 1 came out and they freaking gender swapped kinds. You're like, "It's just not that big of a deal. No, it's not that big of a deal. They actually really respects the fans, prof." Nope, not buying it. Not gonna handle it. Nope, don't want it. And then Dune 2 comes out and they just like, "Meh, we're bored telling the Dune story. Let's just make up our own now." And people are like, "What happened? Like, are you kidding me? What happened? The signs were there from the beginning." But, people just wanna go to the movies, and, you can't stop them. You can't stop them. What else was going on here while we were doing our sound tech? I'll get back to the topic here in a second. It's actually a good thing that I didn't, bust right into the topic because with the mic issues, then I wouldn't have been able to cut that out as a video. Let's see. Oh, Doctor Weiss says, "Your mic hasn't rec" I think you mean the interface, "hasn't recovered from such a pretty voice using it." That's probably it. The interface heard, my lovely sound engraver and is like, "Oh, man, we got this dude again on here? Gross." That's probably it. It's revolting. Samuel Project says, "I remember when Dune 1 came out, and it finally gave me the motivation to read the book." Good, good. Hey, that's something good that came out of it. Yeah, like, I don't need a Dune movie. Uh, I didn't need a Dune movie from, I didn't even need the old Lynch Dune movie, but that was, had some great things about it anyway, 80s, whatever, nostalgia. But the book is wonderful. I don't need a Dune movie, especially today. I don't need a Dune movie. When they announced the cast and they announced things they were gonna do, like, yeah, hard pass, hard pass. I don't. "Oh, it's not that bad, prof. Oh no, they just changed the one thing. Oh." But look, if they've got that mentality going in it, if they've got this mentality at which they feel that they're perfectly justified and it's no big deal if they just change, they just gender swap this character, no big deal, whatever. If they just feel that they can do that, these are the storytellers you're placing yourselves in their hands for the duration of this story. Why would you do that? Oh, because it's just this one little thing. Well, it wasn't just that one little thing anymore, was it? You watch part two and they just threw the book out the window and decided to go their own way. This is ridiculous. But you decide that you're just going to put up with this crap, and that's the crap that you'll continue getting. You set the bar, folks. You keep saying, "No, it's not that bad," then that's as good as it'll ever get. And it'll constantly they'll see a little bit how farther they can go. I can go a little farther, a little farther, a little farther. Because I remember so many people were saying, "Oh, this movie, for Dune Part One, they're respecting the fans. It's so great. They're respecting the fans." And then that just gave them license. That just gave them, you were gonna support Part Two no matter what, so they could just do whatever the heck they wanted in Part Two. I mean, read the freaking writing on the wall, folks. It drives me crazy. So upset I got to open another Diet Pepsi. The book is really great. The book is a masterpiece. I love the cast in Lynch's Dune, and you know, it was saddled with a lot of problems from the studio. You wonder what could have been done had Lynch been able to really do his own thing. Now Lynch was Lynch; he's an auteur in his own right, so he's not going to be, he's not going to pull a Peter Jackson on anything. But I think it could have been interesting. Could have been pretty interesting. So, yeah, just thoughts on Dune there. Let's see. Sound Engraver said Quinn's Ideas does good essays on Dune, but I don't trust him on the adaptation. Oh, is that the channel you were telling me about? Who's got really cool content just on Dune in general, the books or whatever, but he's just decided that he's gonna simp hard for these movies. That's a shame. I never did watch the Sci-Fi Channel original movies. I've heard kind of mixed reviews. I should go back and I think they did Children of Dune, didn't they? I should go back and check that out at some point and see how that is. Yeah. Yeah, Spidey Rule says it's just like Insomniac Spider-Man. They try to put in little drops. That's a really great analogy, Spidey Rules. Yeah, put in little drops to their agenda. Then as soon as it got popular, they blew their load on the second game. You're absolutely right. Spider-Man, the first game, such freaking amazing gameplay. You really felt like you were Spider-Man. It was wonderful, but they just dropped all these stupid little agenda things in there, changing Mary Jane to just a insufferable biatch, making you play as Miles Morales, and even an unpowered Miles Morales at that. It's like, how is this considered fun? But people put up with it because the game itself, the gameplay as Spider-Man and all this kind of stuff was cool. And you're right. They got the support, so they knew you were going to come back for part two no matter what. And then part two was a dumpster fire of ideologue agenda. It's ridiculous, and people eat it up. People can't stop playing clips on their YouTube channel. People can't stop talking about how bad it is, so we can have some content to keep talking about it. And perhaps that is a good segue to my topic for tonight. So let me restart the introduction of it, since I don't think the first part might have popped in and out or not come through so much. Okay, so one of the classes I teach, it's a basic college composition course, and stuff that students need to know coming in from college from high school, how to write, and how to kind of really kick it up to the college level. Of course, that's being fought against at every level, because colleges don't want things to be too hard for the students, because then they might fail and they might not give us their student loan money. But that's a whole other conversation. The purpose of it is to try to raise students up to the college level. And one of the units I teach is on rhetorical awareness. And you think about that phrase, rhetorical awareness, rhetoric. What does it mean? Rhetoric is speech patterns. It's usually synonymous with trying to debate or something like that. But, really just communication, written or oral. And so awareness, being aware of someone's rhetoric, it's similar to, like I said, when I try to teach people to be an active reader of fiction, to really go in and be able to analyze and pull out things that the storyteller is trying to do in between the lines, or with the structure of the art. Certainly with films, trying to be an active viewer and pull out things, because film is a medium. It's more than just the basic on the surface story. So it's the same kind of thing when you're looking at, say, articles or news sources or whatever, nonfiction. You want to be rhetorically aware. You want to be able to rhetorically analyze and actively read what you're seeing. And I tell my students, think about it, before you write anything, before anybody writes anything, you have to have two ideas very clear in your mind. And it doesn't matter if this is a social media post or a school paper, text message, anything. You have to know who's your audience and what your purpose is in writing this. The clear idea, the clear answer you have to both purpose and audience, the more effective your piece of writing will be. A lot of times people write, especially when it comes to the internet, and they're writing posts or blog posts or whatever on Twitter, they start writing and they don't really have a clear idea. They're just kind of writing to make themselves feel better. They'll address something to people who believe something differently than they do, but then they'll proceed to just do a tirade of insults. And I'm like, how would anybody you're actually on the surface addressing stick around and listen to you insult them? So that's clearly not your purpose. Your purpose is more to make yourself feel better, right? So I tell my students, that, but because of that, now if you've had a good idea of your audience and your purpose, you'll be able to make better decisions with your language. What kind of word choice you use, because you use a different type of language with some audiences than you do another, depending on your purpose as well. You'll use a different level of tone, a tone of formality or a tone of emotion or something like that. Pathos, with your ethos, pathos, logos, and all of that. You make decisions about structure too. So if you make all those decisions, and it's important to make those decisions when you're going to write something, then you need to think about that backwards when you're reading somebody else's writing. So when you're reading a news article, or you're watching a news story, or you're watching a YouTube video, ask yourself, start reading between the lines. Ask yourself questions like, what is this YouTuber, for example, YouTuber or writer, if it's an article, what are they trying to get me to believe? What is their purpose? What are they trying to achieve? Am I their audience that they're really kind of aiming for? Or are they aiming for a slightly different audience? And you can really, come up with these answers quite easily if you just, do the thinking and think through these questions. Analyze what is their structure? What kind of tone are they using? Who would that tone appeal to? What are they trying to get out of this? So I teach whole units on my, classes for my students to really read between the lines, especially when it comes to news outlets and stuff like that, trying to get them to believe something with a political slant. You can really uncover people's bias in that and whatnot. But I was thinking this week about how really important it is for people to start viewing their YouTube videos like that. They need to be a lot more rhetorically aware when they turn on YouTube. Because, for example, I've done a lot of videos and I've talked a lot about just how silly the movement is, and how predatory I think the movement is about we're against Disney, we're against the woke and all this stuff. And it's a dangerous thing. It's a slippery slope to even talk about, because on the one hand, I agree with that content. I agree. I hate the wokeness in Hollywood. I think it's ruining stories. I'd love to see it all burn down. Yeah, I mean, all of that. But at the same time, you see this movement on YouTube that's doing more damage than good for that cause. They're keeping it relevant. They're keeping, so I've talked a lot about this before. I've said it before. You guys have heard it. And there are people who just can't handle that. No, no, no. These people, these channels, they're putting the message out there. They're getting the message out. They're converting millions. Actually, a commenter actually said that. They're getting the message out to millions. Millions, really? These channels are converting people. Somebody's got to go out and tell the normies that these movies are woke, and somebody's got to get the message out there. And that's what these channels are doing. If that was true, then they would go about their videos in a completely different manner. If their audience was normies, if they were really trying to get the message out and show the normies out there, hey, this is what's going on in your story, this is why you should be more aware. But look at their tone. I made the thumbnail for this live stream with the samples of the types of video thumbnails they'll use. Rhetoric like Disney is furious. They hate this. Gosh, this is huge. These types of thumbnails, which are they're clickbaiting. These are like the news stories that you'll see that pop up in the feed sometimes, and they'll say things like fans are going nuts over Millie Bobby Brown as Princess Leia. And you see that headline, you're like, what? Millie Bobby Brown's playing Princess Leia? Well, let me click on that. And then it doesn't tell you anything up front. First, it's got to give you a whole history of Star Wars and what it's meant to people, and then Millie Bobby Brown and how she's gotten really popular and blah, blah, blah. And somewhere maybe around the third down of the article, it'll get to where some people have said or fan casted her as Princess Leia. And then at the end, you find out that somebody did some fan art or some AI art as Millie Bobby Brown as Princess Leia, and some people liked it on the internet. And you're like, really? And that's a predatory thing, right? They're trying to fool you into clicking on that link, and then they want to keep you on that page as long as they can, because then they can show you as many more ads as they can. And so they're just trying to make money off of you. They're just trying to monetize your need for a little dopamine hit, like, oh, what? She's that? They're manipulating you. And I think the same thing is the case with a lot of these videos. If their goal was really just to preach the message, to get it out to the normies, to the people would wake up about, more people would wake up about Disney and the wokeness in Hollywood. If that was their purpose and their audience was normies, they wouldn't market their videos. They wouldn't package their videos like this. They're making a commodity out of nerd rage, geek outrage, and you can see that in their thumbnails. And they'll have, they'll take whatever the bad guy of the week is, Bob Iger, Brie Larson, whatever, and then they'll make them with a mad face or a sad face or whatever. I mean, this is like Jerry Springer levels of manipulation. And I've said that before. I don't know why people can't wake up and see that. There's a formula to the videos. They got to make sure they get this info out first. They're using the formula that professional YouTubers tell you to have to use. If you want money, if you want clicks, if you want revenue, if you want people to stick around into your video, make sure that you don't give away this part of your video until the end, and make sure you mention that, and make sure you got all the social media up here. It's a business. Now you might say, well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with somebody trying to make a little money while they're nothing? Nothing's wrong with that at all. Hey, if you can make money on YouTube, great, do it. But when you're actively reading and when you're trying to practice rhetorical awareness about these videos and what they're saying and how they're saying it, at some point you have to ask yourself, what is their purpose? Is their purpose really to get the message out? And maybe on some level, maybe on the level of priorities, their message is to get, or purpose is to get the message out somewhere, but way up at the top of their priorities is to make money off of you, you chump. And if there's nothing going on, then they've got to try and figure out something to get you outraged about. What normie would click on a video that's basically saying, "Ha ha, Disney's so mad at this"? That's not for a normie. That's for the geek outrage to go, "Oh yeah, Disney's mad, cool, because we're fighting the culture war, and I'm with you, Mr. YouTuber or Mrs. YouTuber, and we're on the same side." That's what they're going after. It's they're preying on that kind of outrage, sometimes legitimate and sometimes manufactured. And you can just see that by analyzing their rhetoric. Look at the tone, look at the structure, look at all of that. And again, I think one of the reasons why it's some people are react so viscerally, against what I'm saying, is because we do get disregarded a lot, right? We do get disregarded a lot when you stand up and say, no, there's a problem in Hollywood. It's just overrun by these ideologues. And there are a lot of people that just want to brush that aside. I was listening to Ethan Van Sciver's stream the other day, and he was actually listening on his stream, which it gets so weird. He was listening on his stream to the Dick Masterson Veto podcast. I forgot what they're called. While they were live. So I heard Vito, the guy Vito, was saying, and he was talking about, of course, they were talking about Young Ripa. Somehow it came from that, but they were talking about these channels that do kind of prey on the wokeness or whatever. And he said, and Vito was saying, these guys are happy that something failed. That's ridiculous. I wouldn't. Hey, let these things get made and then let's go see them and we can see if they're good or bad. Now, that's just a stupid thing to say right there, because you don't let these things get made, because that's all Disney wants. They want the message out there. You got to starve them. You got it. So yeah, it's a joy. It's a wondrous thing when these things get canceled. I love that. But you do get disregarded like that a lot. So if you're somebody that knows that the ideologues are overrunning Hollywood, if you're somebody that's sick and tired of your dearly beloved franchise being run into the ground, and you get, just disregarded like that, well, then, yeah, they can try to, sometimes the issue is presented in something called a false binary. And this is something else that I talk about in my classes. It's false binaries. The media loves false binaries. YouTubers love false binaries if they're really trying to get clicks and really trying to prey on a culture war outrage like this, because false binaries, that polarizes the public. That makes you feel like, hey, it's me and people who agree with me against the bad guys, and that's very rarely ever a truly accurate representation of any issue. The example I give in my class is I say, look at the abortion issue. Look at how that's always portrayed in the media. It's the pro-life side versus the pro-choice side. And you're either on one of these sides. And if you're on this side, then the other side's evil. And if you're on that side, then the other side's evil. I said, but if you go into any room of any given people and you really start to ask them specific questions about what they believe about abortion, you're going to find out that you have more of a spectrum, more of a graph kind of thing. And I draw this in class, and I say, okay, look, let's say if this is the media's dividing line between pro-choice and pro-life, well, you're going to have these people over here who, they're not really comfortable with abortion, but they think maybe it should be legal if it was a case of incest or rape. Or then these other people over here are going to say, well, we like abortion, but probably, you shouldn't just use abortion as a means of birth control if it's like your ninth one. There should be some limits. Or some people think, well, we like abortion, but there should be limits on the term. So you've got people on all kind of, gradation of the scale there. And the reason that's important is because if you were, some person anywhere on that scale, and you were trying to convince other people to come over to your side, you can't treat everybody as though they're all that other side, because some people are closer to your view than others. And you really want to be able to acknowledge the nuances of the issue if you're going to make any sense and actually make any headway in trying to convince anybody of anything. So that's the problem when you present these issues, is though, look, you're either on the side of these channels and fighting the woke, or you're not, and you just might as well be an ideologue. Well, that's not, this isn't a good representation. I don't think we should let these YouTube channels define the anti-woke movement, because then the anti-wokeness of it just becomes a commodity that they peddle for clicks and for revenue. They don't want it to stop. If Disney ever got their game in gear and stopped pushing the woke, then these channels would be out of money. They don't want that to stop. They don't want things to change. And you can see that. You can see that in their rhetoric. It's very easy to read. Got some super chats here. Let me check in with these before I go too much farther. Studio Super, thank you very much, said these guys are converting people. Yeah. And how broke has these businesses become ever since? Yeah, exactly. What good is the conversation if you're still living the life you lived beforehand? Yeah, I mean, so yeah, what are their fruits, right? I don't respond to comments that try to fight or whatever, because I've said my piece. I'm done. If I have something else to say, I'll make another video. But yeah, if I was going to respond to those comments, I would say, well, if they're converting people, if they're out there making a difference, then why hasn't anything changed yet in Hollywood? It hasn't. Thank you to my dear sound engraver. Get that B-roll going. Yeah, yeah. Those slick channels with they got the logos, and they got the music, and they got the B-roll, and they got all these things, and they got their slick little skit or whatever script. And again, nothing's wrong with any one of those things just in general. But I've said before about YouTube, I think that what was special about YouTube when it started, and I think what still should be special about it, is that it's sort of an equalizer. Anybody with a smartphone can make a video and get their opinion out there. But then it became overrun by the professional YouTubers, the YouTubers who figured out, hey, I can make lots of bank by doing this, by playing into this sort of sideshow mentality, whatever the issues are that whatever channel tries to play into. And then they can they keep trying to manufacture that. They don't want the issues to be fixed, and they just want to make things over and over and over again. And in order to do that, they do have to be slick. They have to be well produced. They got to get people to produce this and that for them. And again, there's nothing wrong with the simple idea of having more professional lighting or more professional, music or whatever. I mean, I try and polish up any little thing like that I can when I can, but I never want my channel to lose the feel of just a guy talking to a smartphone. I want that basic, this just, hey, I'm just a college professor out here talking about this stuff that I love. I'm not a professional YouTuber. There's one channel that I like content wise because it talks a lot about the some political stuff that is actually appeals to me. But the guy's got this little slick script, and every video it's like he starts with summing up, and then you're like a fourth way into the video, sometimes a third into the video, before he says, we got a lot of stuff to get into today, so let's roll the tape. It's like it's a subtle little manipulation just to keep you there for a little longer, because you haven't really heard the main thing he wants to say yet. You better stay there for a little longer. You got to keep the duration of that views going up. And I don't know about you guys, but I hate the idea of being manipulated. It drops your sincerity level in my eyes to nothing. Say what you mean and act like what you mean. Be sincere, be genuine about what you believe and what you're saying. It's very easy for me to lose trust in a lot of these channels when they're so slick, and I know they're just wanting more of those clicks, more of those super chats, baby. So they'll keep this kind of thing going. They will prey on people who do this kind of thing. But speaking of super chats, you guys give them, so I'm going to read them. Thank you to Owen Lister. What would be the right strategy to get the normies to wake up to the woke ideology? It's a really good question, Owen. I don't know if there's any one easy answer or any one single strategy, but education would be the thing. First of all, if you wanted an average normie, you'd have to realize that the average normie doesn't have the built-in rage that's going to be automatically saying, yeah, you got to approach them where they are and show them, look, let's talk about some specific movies that have been made recently, and then let's compare the story structure and the story value and the weight of how well it's been made to some stories that you like that were made 10 years ago. And it's a more of a subtle thing. You got to take a little more time with it, and you got to actually, it's more difficult, and it's a longer battle, and it doesn't pay as much as going, guys, Disney's so mad about this, tune into my video and hear why. That's what makes you the moolah. But it's a good question. Eldritch fan for 199. Think you said so sick of thumbnails of red face screaming. Oh, you're talking about certain. Now here's a you say Shad. I think you're meaning Shadiversity. I will say this. I see it's kind of a weird line to walk, honestly, because on the one hand, I don't know Shad. I don't even think I've ever watched his channel. I think he does play into some of this stuff, but I don't know him personally or anything. I always say I'm not going to call out channels by name, but I also don't want to pretend that I can straddle this line. I can not call these people out, but also call them out. I mean, yeah, I'm obviously talking about practices that are absolutely practiced by a lot of the FNT crowd and stuff like that. At the same time, I don't have anything personal against any of those guys. I've had at least personal online interactions a couple of times with back in the day, not anytime recently, but with Gary from Neurotic, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, and Ryan from Arcade Outpost. All of them seemed like wonderful guys. It was a very pleasant experience. They were very nice. I've got nothing personal against anybody who might use these techniques. I wish them all the continued success in the world, but I am never going to stop speaking out against this practice, which I think is hurting the cause. And I don't know the individuals of these channels who do this. Maybe they really do feel like, this cause is something worthy to be fought for, but they just let that call for the money to get away from or whatever, or maybe they don't even realize what they're doing, but I really truly believe they're doing more harm to the cause than good. They're just making these Hollywood companies relevant. They're keeping them relevant, and they're playing into the false binary of it, so that a lot of normies who may or may not, kind of come over to our side, be more likely to come over and see the light about what's going on with storytelling in Hollywood, aren't going to, if they just hear this vitriol and this, outrage, is stupid, we do need to get the message out. I'm not saying that people should just shut up and not talk about it at all. But yeah, we absolutely need to stop reviewing every stupid movie that we know is going to be stupid. We need to stop reviewing every episode of every series. And, guys, here's where we're going to fight the good fight together. That's not fighting the good fight together. That's playing into the drama so you can get some money from the clickbaiting of it. Yeah. Anyway, Eldritch fan, reading awareness versus reading into something. That's a good question too. Okay, so the answer to how do you parse out that? Yes, I think what you're saying is, where do we draw the line between being practicing rhetorical awareness and awareness of a piece of or something, and then actually reading into it. Again, you've got to read the actual hard indicators. So again, if a YouTube video has that kind of thumbnail, they are so mad about this, or whatever. Well, that's clearly trying to appeal to somebody who would like the fact that Disney or Warner Brothers or whatever would be mad about this. Oh, they're mad about this. Let me see what they're mad about. Yeah, victory for our side. What that's you can see how something's being crafted in a way to appeal to a certain audience. So you can it's kind of like reverse outlining of an essay. You go backwards. You see what are the choices they made in the structure of it, or the tone of it, or the language of it, the general delivery of it, or whatever, and what were those intended to appeal to. And there's room for some differentiation or different answers, to a certain degree with some of those questions, but not crazy different, not all over the place, that's for sure. Let me see, make sure I didn't miss anything. Studio Super, thank you very much, sir, said, like with Bud Light, I'm starting to think normies have more willpower than the fans. Normies are hurting companies like Disney more than the fans supposedly mad at their decisions. Yeah, I did that video. I think that might be what you're referring to, when the whole Bud Light boycott was happening last summer. And I mean, we saw Bud Light sales plummet. I mean, just crazy plummet. I mean, that people said no to your brand, period. And I said, imagine if we could do that to Disney with their woke Marvel or woke Star Wars stuff. Imagine if we just turned our back on them like normies turn their back on Bud Light. Talk about sending a message. Oh, but we can't do that. We got to go see the movie, and we got to review the movie so others don't have to. That's ridiculous. People are going to hear your review of how crazy stupid it was and think, oh, I got to go see how stupid it was. And then they got to go see it, so they're in the know, and you're just giving them more publicity and more promotion. And it does extend beyond just the whole Bud Light boycotts and the Target thing that happened in the summer. That's a good example, because this isn't just limited to geek news. there are so many channels that suddenly became the news channel, suddenly became, hey, I'm just a friendly YouTuber going to show you guys what's happening with the Target fiasco and the Bud Light fiasco. And suddenly it's like they'll dance to any tune you will throw money at them for, you know? And again, that just takes, in my eyes, that just takes, it's just insincere. It's, what's the word I'm looking for? It's right on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it though. Not credibility, but, I don't know. Integrity. That's the word I'm looking for. It just really takes down some integrity. And again, everything is, it depends on the degrees, right? There's certainly nothing wrong with reading the room. There's certainly nothing wrong with, okay, I'm a YouTuber. I'd like to make some bucks. What do people want? And if that is in line with something that I'm passionate about, great. I'll give you an example. Like, I've been pretty passionate lately about talking about physical media. It kind of just clicked with me doing creating the podcast, Iconicast podcast. And every now and then, I've been doing this YouTube channel for, gosh, when did I start it? Was it 2016 or 2017? I think something like that. So it's been a while. And I've said before, I know you see channels, how they get big. I could very easily be a huge channel by now if I wanted, if I didn't be true to, if I was decided not to be true to myself and I decided to chase after all these little, algorithms and whatever's hot right now and be mad at the right things and support the right things, I could easily be a huge channel. I've seen other channels that started their channel long after I started mine, and they played the game. They played the game and they did all the right little things, and then they got huge, but they lost their integrity as far as I'm concerned. And so in the years of doing my channel, sometimes whatever I was actually passionate about and actually cared about talking about was hot, So like I got a big boost in views during the Captain Marvel thing or the He-Man thing, but I didn't beat it to death, and I didn't just keep going to the next thing, And if I hated something that everybody was supposed to love, like the Joker movie, I didn't care. I was going to speak out against it. And I see my subscriber count go down. I see it go down every time I dare speak out against, these, this manipulation of geek outrage, things, but I don't care. I'm going to talk about what I'm passionate in or passionate about. So the physical media thing, that's pretty popular to talk about now. And it just happens to be something that I'm passionate about as well. But I was doing some research before I even started the Iconicast podcast, and I was looking up, because a lot of YouTube videos talk about physical media. A lot of people have been talking about this topic long before I did. And I actually came across one channel, and it was funny to see this happen because, like, I know where this guy was. I've been there before. He was a relatively new channel, kind of small, but he was a great guy. He seemed like he had a lot of good things to say and stuff like that. And he did a video, I think, on physical media, and it just it blew up. Like, it was, got him a lot more attention than he was used to receiving on his videos. So he said in his next video, he said, "Hey guys, wow, you guys really like the physical media thing. Well, I've got some more things to say about it. Don't worry. I'm not just going to talk about nothing but physical media now. I'm still my channel. I'm still going to talk about all the things that are important to me." And I knew what was going on in his head right as he said that. I knew he realized that he could do this and grow his channel big time and maybe get some more money and so forth, or he could be true to himself and not just sell himself into one little niche interest. And I haven't followed his channel with a fine-tooth comb or anything, but I think he really did lean heavily into the physical media thing. And his channel's getting rewarded for it, but I'm like, what happens when you want to actually talk about something else? I mean, I see that on my channel. I built this channel on talking about cultural studies and the modern day mythologies and superheroes, and talking about some writing stuff and how to write heroes and archetypes and whatnot. And we're doing more of that. But I also am super passionate about music, like good hard rock music from 70s, 80s, and 90s, hair metal, and the precursors and those who still, kept around afterwards. And I'll talk about that sometimes. Sometimes I'll do a video or something about that, and I see like 10 people watch it. And that's fine. That's how that has to be, because I didn't really market the channel on that. But I still do it because I care about it. I have fun talking about it, Um, are you true to yourself, or are you true to the algorithm? You really just can't be both. You really can't be both. Dr. Y, thank you for the $5 super chat. Said bad publicity is still publicity. It really is. And again, I'm not saying that we need to shut up and not talk about the ideologues in Hollywood. Yeah, the message needs to get out there, but let's stop pretending that this whole subculture echo chamber of anti-woke isms is doing any good in the culture. And I'm not against it. Hey, like I think it's great to have a little community. And you know, I say echo chamber just because it's a hot word. I think echo chambers are fine, you know, depending on the context. And it's great to have a community, and it's great to have some people that you can go to, especially when you're ostracized so much for daring to say, you know, daring to call out the emperor with new clothes, or the emperor has no clothes in Hollywood. It's nice to have some people or some channels that, you know, get it and you can kind of go into. That's fine. But I think it's blown well past that, and it's to the point where it's doing Hollywood more good than it is harm. So as you said, as you way more succinctly said than I, Dr. Y, bad publicity is still publicity. Studio Super, thank you very much, sir, for the super chat. Appreciate it. You said, what drew me to your channel? I remember getting started on you talking about Super Kong. Oh, yeah. You talked about character types, and that got me interested in your channel. I think you said 1 of 2, so I'll look for your part 2 here in the chat. But yeah, the Super Kong video I did was when I talked to, oh, there it is. I did a review of Kong Skull Island, and what I really loved about that movie is they approached Kong as a superhero. They really did. I mean, he was the hero of that movie. And that kind of got me into that sort of monster verse, because I wasn't necessarily a big, you know, kaiju fan naturally. Nothing against it, but just wasn't something that I was into. And yeah, from there, and I think in that video I might have started talking about the heroic archetypes and things like that. Part 2 of your super chat there, you said, I gotta say, ever since I started watching your vids, you have me understanding characters in ways I never would have otherwise. It even helps me in thinking how I want to make my own characters. Well, I appreciate that. I really do. You know, some people like what I have to say, some people don't. Some people might just not like the way I say things, and that's fine too. You know, I've always said, you know, it's a very easy thing. All you need to do is click that little X or click your back button, go somewhere else, and there's plenty of other people to watch. But I do appreciate when people do respond well, because I am a teacher, and I'm not just, I mean, I'm giving my opinion about a lot of things, but there is actually the real deal things when it comes to story. It's not just opinion. I mean, there's objective truth to storytelling. It is a craft. There are things about story that you can't just, you know, as I did in that recent video about postmodernism creeping into story, you know, and it throws the story structure out the window and stuff like that. No, there are real issues, and there are real things about characters. And when you're talking about superheroes, they're actual archetypes. And whether an artist or a writer know it or not, their characters are going to play into these archetypes. So yeah, appreciate that. Andre Hernandez for $5. Thank you so much. Said, joke. How dare you talk trash about these channels, Prof? They are heroes. They see these movies, so we don't have to. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I know you're joking there when you say talk trash about these channels, but I hope it never comes across as me talking trash about these channels, because I'm not into the whole drama on YouTube thing. I would never. In fact, I've made it my practice when anybody ever comes after me on YouTube, and I've had it happen a few times where people make videos, Professor Geek is so dumb or whatever, or, you know, try to take to task this or that. I just don't address it. I don't respond in any way. I don't, because more often than not, the reason they're doing that, and the reason they're trying to call me out specifically and really kind of put a challenge to me or whatever, is because they want more clicks on their channel. And it's always been channels that didn't have quite as many subscribers as I do. I don't have very many, but you know, they didn't have quite as many as I did. And they thought, hey, if we call out some people, if we start some beef on YouTube, then they'll make their videos about us, and then that'll get some people shining their light on us, and then our channel will grow. And that is a tactic. That is absolutely a tactic. I mean, what Young Ripa called it, monetize my haters. Well, I guess that's slightly different, because that would be coming at it. That would be like if I was going to do videos about them for content, I guess, and maybe the audience liked that. I don't think it would have worked for me the way it worked for him when he was doing it. But I just don't like that look. I don't like that. I'm secure in what I say and what I believe. And I've got my own little platform, and I talk about it, you know? and people can listen and like it, or they can say screw you guy and move on, and that's all fine, whatever. I don't really believe in going on to other people's platforms or even comment sections and be like, "Rawr, how dare you, blah blah blah." Like, I, I'm cool with what I believe. I don't care about, if you believe something else, great, go do it. So yeah, so I never want to seem like I'm coming after, like I'm challenging these people. That's why I don't mention any specific channels by name. And again, yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to pretend that we can't all imagine a bunch of different channels, but it's bigger. There is like a little bit of a beef. There's like an FNT group against an anti FNT group. It seems like maybe emerging on YouTube. I'm not part of that. Again, I'm not personally against any of these guys. I think they're great. The ones that I've met anyway, were wonderful, and I have nothing against their channels. I do have something against this practice of YouTubing, which is bigger than them. It's bigger. It's been around long before this. Again, it depends on. It's not even just linked to the geek stuff. It's just a practice on YouTube, and I see it making YouTube into something that's no longer just a fun platform where you can, people that wouldn't normally be heard or wouldn't normally be able to get their ideas out can do that. More people that start just, being super slick and playing into these algorithms, and they become professional YouTubers, then that just makes YouTube another CNN or another Fox News or another whatever, and that's not what was great about YouTube. And I say that because we really need, all this to say. Let me read this super chat from Stu Super first, and I'll say this too. But thank you for the super chats. I do appreciate those. Again, you try not to, I'm not doing this for super chats, but they help. They do help. I'm not running my channel so I can, make the most money ever. But yeah, it helps getting 100 or two, a month or whatever, if you can pull them in. So that does help. It helps me make more content, which I'm trying to do. So I appreciate that, folks. But Studio Super says, I know what you mean. It's one of the reasons I'm not into the indie comic scene so much. It seems every creator is beefing with one another, and supporting one comic makes them think you choose a side. Sometimes it does. I hear what you're saying. Sometimes it does. I think it depends on the creator. I do think indie comics are a wonderful, wonderful way to kind of help some of the story going in there. But I totally hear what you're saying. It is hard. I mean, like as I've said before, I'm a huge Ethan Van Sciver fan, and I'll never say anything bad against the guy. He just, doesn't mean I agree with everything the man ever says or does or whatever. But I had people try to get me to like be anti Ethan or come against him or whatever, and then they would try to attack me a little bit if I didn't. That's not to, and I've said, there's, because there's these little pylons on Ethan Van Sciver that happen periodically, which isn't to say that everybody who might have a problem with Ethan Van Sciver might not have a valid problem with him, whatever. But I see those little fads or those little movements happen, these little fads is a good word for them. And I'm not about that. What I really want from a YouTuber that I'm going to listen to with a lot of regularity is I want sincerity. And I think that sincerity isn't dependent on your style of YouTubing, and it's not dependent on your content necessarily, subject matter rather. It's dependent on, are you being true to yourself? Is this something like even Ethan Van Sciver right now doing his trash cast shows and he's out there mudslinging, guys. I mean, he's out there, but he's having a blast with it. And I don't have anything against, a lot of the people. I mean, some people maybe or whatever that he talks about, but he's so entertaining, and that he's like, this is who I am right now, and this is what I'm having fun doing, and I'm doing it, and he's not, anything he says, he's not lying. He actually believes the things he says. And so that's what draws me to a lot of YouTubers, whether I agree with them or not. Are they being sincere? And this is what I'd like to say, because when you're closing in on my hour here, my usual hour stream time to somewhat, I'm just going to start slowly winding down, but I would very much like to say this. We need more sincerity on YouTube. I would love more sincere channels to watch. And there are so many people, and I know that there's so many people here watching me right now. You guys have a lot to say. You're passionate about these topics, and you have so much to say. And you'll come on to my comment section or other comment sections, and you'll leave these huge, well thought out, sides or ideas or comments or whatever. And I keep thinking, why don't you just make a channel? I mean, not that, hey, you're welcome to leave as many comments as you want, but you think about how many people are actually going to read your comment. A handful, maybe, depending on how popular the video is or whatever, how much of a hot button issue it is. And you think about how much time and energy some of these people put into their comments, whether it's on a YouTube channel or whether a Facebook post or whatever. And I think, and I've told some people like this. I'm like, look, and there's one guy in particular. Yeah, I'll just name him because he's a great guy, Alec Purdue. I don't think he's here tonight, but he's got so much to say, and he's got a lot of cool things to say. It's about anime and everything, and I'm always telling him, dude, you need to start a channel. Not because like I'm tired of you talking about it on my channel. No, by all means, leave all the comments you want. But he's clearly somebody who's passionate about a topic. He's got a lot of good things to say about the topic. You could get your message out to so many more people if you just make a video, and you don't need technology for that. All you need is a smartphone. Do you got a smartphone? Boom, click record, click upload to YouTube. Bam, you're done. You can get a little more slick. You can get to editing some of the videos like I do sometimes or whatever, and eventually you could get into live streaming if you wanted to. And Alec Purdue, I'm using your name as an example because I like him. He's a great guy, and I think he's got great stuff to say. So don't worry, I'm not like badgering you, Alec, into starting a channel. I just think you should, man. And a lot of these people, and if more people did that, if we had more people on YouTube that were passionate about their topics and wanted to talk about these things, I would like more options for those people than the slick people who are playing into the algorithm and are just got to have their video out every day at every time and every whatever the hot topic button issue is, we got to talk about that and so forth. Yeah, I encourage more people, and it's not easy to start a channel. Eldritch fans, I have a face for radio and a voice for print. Well, that's the thing. Look at YouTube. Look at even some popular YouTubers. Look at your boy Zach. I can't think of his real name right now, but Diversity in Comics was his channel at first. I forget what he changed his name to. But long before anybody knew his name or ever saw his face, his channel became huge, and all he would do is put a comic book on his lap and point the phone at it and talk about it. And that was it. There was no slick editing. There was no, and that was it, because he had something important to say. He was passionate. He was very sincere about what he was saying. And the message got out there, and some people hated it, but some people loved it, and it got out there, and he's huge now. And I think that's the way to go about it. And I think we need more people like that on here. So I'm talking to many of you in the chat. Start up a YouTube. Yeah, Richard Meyer. I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot I was blinking on his name, but your boy Zach. Everybody knows who I mean when I say that. There's a lot of you guys here who've got great things to say, and you're very passionate about it. Come on, man, get it out there. You don't have to show your face. You don't have to do any of that. You can just, how many really big YouTubers, you've never seen their face before. Some of them you don't even know their name. You can choose to approach it any way you want. Vampiric Kai, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Said, lately I've been more aware of how meaningless 99% of online videos are. I've been slowly watching less because of it. Now I prefer watching animators. Yeah, I've kind of gone in waves about, I know what you're saying, because I've kind of gone in waves too about what I'm interested in watching on YouTube. If I'm kicking back just trying to relax, I'm usually watching some sort of retro nostalgic video, or an educational video, or a religious content video if it plays into something that is in line with me there or something. I don't watch for drama. Now, again, I've mentioned that I watched some of Ethan Van Sciver's, but he's just so entertaining. I'm not even really I'm not against Eric July or anything like that. I just find Ethan entertaining, but yeah, I don't seek out drama for the sake of drama. When it comes to the content I'm watching, and I think that's part of it. You can be an aware, you can practice rhetorical awareness and think about that in terms of your writing and trying to be true to your audience and your purpose. But I think as a viewer, you also need to ask yourself, what is my purpose as a viewer? What am I really trying to achieve? Am I just trying to relax with something funny? Okay. And a lot of people who tune into a lot of these channels, about the woke stuff and everything, they think they're changing Hollywood by playing into these, this movement or whatever. Are you really? By really building up this channel and this channel or that channel or whatever, and encouraging them and having more content, you're working with them to keep Hollywood relevant. in a lot of ways. So you can think of it in that respect too. But anyway, I went a long way off of your topic there, Kai, but thank you for that. Owen Lister, thank you so much for the super chat. Said, that's what I love about your channel, the sincerity. I may not agree with everything you say, but I respect your honesty. I appreciate that, Owen Lister. I do. And I know a lot of people who've stuck with me for a while, same thing. They don't agree with, and you shouldn't agree with everything I say. My goodness. If you were lockstep with me in about everything, then that's like the sign of being a zombie. Like can you think anything for yourself? Yeah, I know. I don't for a second think that everybody just because they watch my channel agrees with everything I say. But I have had people say, like what you said, Owen, so I appreciate that sincerity. And I think people see that. And that's what draws me to channels too. Even if I don't agree with everything somebody's saying, I know at least they're being sincere about it. They're not trying to manipulate me in some which way or another. Divinital Kayan, thank you so much for the $5. Said, I want to make some videos one day, but I need to learn video editing. And due to my autism, someone to walk me through it in person. Pray for me. Absolutely, I certainly will. And you've got a lot of great things to say. You could very easily do that. Even showing some of your art, you don't have to be on camera if you didn't want to. You could put your art up. The thing about video editing is you really don't even have to video edit. Like I said, turn the camera on and just talk until you're done. And if you mess up or whatever, you can get a couple takes out. But there's I don't use any kind of super sophisticated video editing. I use OpenShot, which is an open source video editing. I don't have to pay for it. It's free on the internet. And it's pretty simple. And there's YouTube, how-tos here and there. I do know what you said. You said because of your autism, you might need somebody to walk you through it. I get that. And that doesn't mean, autism is a spectrum, as I know, because of my daughter being on the autistic spectrum. So that could mean a lot of different things. But, it's certainly easy to understand how that could make things a little harder for you to understand, or even maybe make you need things explained to you in a certain way. I get that. But there's so many tutorials out there and stuff. And like I said, you don't even need to edit. Try it sometime. I'd be really interested in hearing some of the things you have to say. Definitely. I know Dr. Y has a channel. You guys should go check out Dr. Y's channel. Said, I hate showing my face in videos and hearing my voice. It took some while for me to get used to hearing my voice. And you learn, you get better at it. I was a teacher long before I started doing YouTube channels. So I was used to public speaking. Obviously I could do that. But having a YouTube channel helped me become a better public speaker so much easier, because when you listen to yourself over and over, you start to hear your little tells. There's still some things that I do in my speech right now that drive me nuts. I'm still trying to nix the that happens when I'm trying to think through what I want to say and I haven't gotten a clear idea of it. So I'm trying to sort of compose it as I'm going along. I'll slip in a lot of those knows. I've also tried to consciously scale down on my whatnots, this and whatnot. I like that phrase. It's useful, but I overused it big time for a while there. So yeah, you'll hear things about yourself and it'll bug you. And this, Dr. Y, because you've been doing your channel for a long time. And I think you do a lot of your animation or your artwork. So yeah, you do kind of have to get over the thought of hearing yourself. I remember the first time I was doing videos, recording myself, it felt a little weird. A live stream, it's easier because there's a live audience. You guys are there. I'm not just talking to myself, but it's a little weird when you're just talking to a camera. That's something you kind of have to get over, but you do. It's easy. It's just part of a process. It's fun, and yeah, don't start a YouTube channel if you don't think it's fun, if you're not happy to get your ideas out there. But if it's fun, man, go for it. So many of you guys have great things to say. Samuel Proctor, thank you so much. Said, I grew up on, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being a channel member. I didn't finish my comment there. Samuel Proctor, channel member, said, I grew up on Minecraft videos. I would have joined them, but then I learned Justin Bieber started as a YouTuber, and I was so annoyed by him that I didn't even want to associate with him. I did not know that. Did he really start as a YouTuber? That's interesting. My dear Sound Engraver says, oh, he's talking to Dr. Y. Your speed animation, music, and commentary is very therapeutic. Where's the oh shoot, Dr. Y, what is that video that you did where you animated Al singing? Was it Somewhere Over the Rainbow? It's a classic one you did. Classic. Trying to find your channel here. Nope, that's not you. I don't know. Dr. Y, I'm going to give you I'm going to sign off here in a second. So if we have time to do this, but I'm going to give you a why can't I do that? Oh, it's on YouTube. I'm going to give you a wrench so that you can put the link to your channel in the chat. Okay, so I'm going to give you a wrench there, and you should be able to place the link to that video in the chat. If you do, I'll sit here and watch it. This will be kind of how we yeah, Godzilla, the zippity doodah, that's the one. You've got a wrench now, Dr. Y. You should have a wrench anyway. So if you put that link to that video in the chat, I can't find it here on the fly, but it was hilarious. That was a good one. I'm refreshing my page here to make sure that you've got your wrench. Yeah, you do. Zoinks, you put me on the spot there, Prof. Yeah, okay, no worries if you can't find it. Yeah, no worries. Just an idea. But I do have some great videos. Like I said, some more videos, especially with Big Al, because when he was doing the streams with me, he would just constantly say stupid stuff, knowing he was saying it. You know, he was joking around. And when Stephen Cruz would put a lot of those to music, and then I would make some videos. Some of those were pretty hilarious. So I was watching one of them the other day, and I made videos to them, but I think I need to change the images to get it right on the beat a little bit. So I'll do that later. Scott Pickering says, have you read the recent Transformers comics from Skybound? It's really good. Optimus Prime is written really well. That's great to hear. No, I haven't. I still need to really go back and watch a lot of those cartoons. That's not something that I really grew up with myself. But I want to get into it. And it's nice to know that there are some comic books. I haven't heard anything about that. So that's great. The Imaginative Hobbyist says, if I'm correct, both actors, Timothy Chalamet and Florence Pugh, also started on YouTube. I did not know that either. All right, here it is. Here's the video. So I'm gonna let this kind of be our sign off here. But my Steer Sound Engraver does have a stream tomorrow at 5:45 p.m. So check that out. Talking about good old fashioned evil in fiction, the elemental evil villains and stuff. Yeah, she was talking to me about that. That was a really great idea there. All right, so let me let me cue this up here and share it. This will be this is Dr. Y's video he made. I was telling Al to sing Zippity Doodah. So he animated us. He animated Al as Godzilla. And I think I'm like a knight or something next to him, talking to him. But pretty fun stuff here. Let's see. There we go. Sound shared. Nope, that's the other Dr. Y I was trying to find. I was looking up Dr. Y and some gastroenterologist. So that's not the one. Let me share that again. There we go. Okay. Can you sing that? Zippity doodah.
Zippity doodah, zippity my oh my, what a wonderful day. Plenty of sunshine coming my way. Is that it?
Yeah, there you go.
Coming my way. Zippity doodah, zippity yay.
You got a great baritone. That really works for you. I just love how you caught the uncertainty, and I'm thinking about it. You caught that so well. I can totally believe Al is a confused Godzilla. That's great. That's great. So good stuff there. Yeah. Big Al. That's Big Al. Final Fantasy fan. Yeah. Good stop motion. Yeah, I agree, Divinital. All right, folks. Well, that's all for tonight. Just had some thoughts there. I will be back with more. Now, tomorrow, either tomorrow or Monday, I'm going to record an analysis of some more comic books. I'm working on Graveyard Shift and Zombie Sama by Billy Tucci, because I have his She coming in the mail, his omnibus, which I'd like to talk about too. So I've got some more comic book analyses coming up, literary analysis of comic books. We've got more cutouts from these videos, cutouts from the last podcast, and some more things to say. So that's all more to come. Thanks for hanging out. Do have one more super chat there to close the night out on. Thank you there, Studio Super. Says more of those, please. More of those Godzilla Prof Geek vids, please. Yeah, man. You do more of them, Dr. Y. I'll definitely play them. And Dr. Y put the link to that in the chat there. So scroll up and grab that link and go sub to his channel. He does some good stuff like that. So yeah. That's all for tonight, folks. I will check out Beast Wars there. I see the recommendation for Transformers. First, I'm going to start with the old 80s cartoon and watch that all the way through. So thank you guys, and I'll be back next week and more so in between them. But until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the True Blue hero stories you love. That was a muddle. Anyway, thanks for watching.